Good morning, sports fans. You're listening to 96.9 FM WHYR-LP Baton Rouge Community Radio.
This is Eric Hatfield along with Coach Perry Daniels, and we are here to bring you the latest, the greatest, the best, and the most entertaining in high school, college, and professional sports. You are listening to Louisiana All-American Sports. Ain't nobody, don't ask me, I'm just so fresh, so clean. Good morning, Baton Rouge. It's another Saturday morning, another hot, steamy Saturday morning on Louisiana All-American Sports. This is Eric Hatfield.
And I'm Coach Perry Daniels.
And it's showtime here in Baton Rouge on 96.9 FM WHYR-LP, Baton Rouge Community Radio.
Hey, man, I know there's not a whole lot going on in the sports world, but I'm excited about this show.
Oh, there's a lot to talk about on this show. You know, it's funny because we've been talking for the last 2 or 3 weeks about how this is the slow time, but there's a whole lot to discuss because there's a whole lot going on. We had last week the NBA draft, and we had some very talented players going in that draft. This is probably the most talent-rich, high-expectation draft since 2003. 2003, if you recall, is the class that brought us LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh. Wow, they're on the same team. But Carmelo Anthony, a lot of talented players. So there's a lot to talk about, and there's a lot of excitement in this year's NBA draft.
There is, man. We get to talk about the new millionaires.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Save that money, kids. Save that money.
We also have coming up a lesson from the professor later on, and then we're also going to have the fixer.
All right.
Giving us the latest odds on the World Cup and the new MLB odds.
That's right, because the World Cup is definitely something that's going on, that is being played right now, that's got a lot of people's attention, and we will talk about it, soccer aficionados, or if you're like me and you're kind of one of those every 4-year soccer guys, we got a little World Cup action for you. So, NBA draft, first pick. With the first pick in the NBA draft, the Cleveland Cavaliers picked Andrew Wiggins, and so unlike last year, they did not blow it. Pretty hard to blow it with a guy with this kind of talent. This dude is a special kind of guy. He's got just a lot of length, crazy vertical jumping ability, can shoot. This guy can do everything.
But Eric, it remains to be seen whether or not they've blown it. Now, last year when they took the first round pick, that was the best player in the NBA draft. Anthony
Bennett.
Anthony Bennett was a college beast.
He was, but the first reaction you heard from some of the guys was, what? Really? I mean, you had guys, granted, last year was a very shallow draft, but you had guys like Victor Oladipo, who had less risk and a little bit more pedigree in his year at Indiana. You had a couple of, not a lot of names you knew, but you had a few names you knew, and, well, Anthony Bennett didn't turn out so well. If Andrew Wiggins is a bust, there's no way this guy's going to be a bust. I can't even fix my lips to say that. But, you know, maybe like the Greg Oden bit where you say, well, those things happen.
Right, and that's possible. Yeah. Those things can happen, and, you know, the pedigree for the Duke players, that track record isn't very good. You know, Wiggins, Kansas player. I got ahead of us.
That's okay. The number 2 pick. But, you know, look, the last crop of Duke, the last Duke player with high expectations, that was Kyrie Irving, and he's held up his end of the bargain so far.
So far, so good for Kyrie.
And with the second pick in the 2014 NBA draft from Duke University, the Milwaukee Bucks selected Jabari Parker.
Right.
I'll tell you, this is another guy. This guy's a monster. This guy can score. He is physical. He's tough. He's aggressive on the boards. Tough in the paint. Could probably use a little refinement of his shooting, but, you know, hey, he's a young guy. He has plenty of time to develop that. The Milwaukee Bucks are being very aggressive in trying to take that franchise in a different direction, and
they need to.
They are, as Charles Barkley would say, they have been just terrible. And when they traded Brandon Jennings, I don't know, for some magic beans and a horse or whatever it was they did, I really thought this team was trying to pull like in Major League and move itself somewhere. So, good pick by the Bucks. I like that one. What did you think about Parker?
Well, again, it remains to be seen how this plays out, and that's with all of these young men. Right. But these two are probably more suited than most, along with Julius Randle. I'm just a big Julius Randle fan.
Me too.
And I think him going to the Lakers is a great move.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Yeah, with the third pick in the 2014 NBA draft, the Philadelphia 76ers selected Joel Embiid, 7-foot center, 250 pounds from Kansas. Sometimes you got to roll the dice. Joel Embiid, if you do follow basketball, you know the story. Big guy. This dude is just an impressive physical specimen by every way. 7 feet tall, can shoot, is capable of running the floor. That's very rare for a guy like that. He's fast for a big guy. Very aggressive on the rim. So why didn't he go first? Well, he didn't go first because he's had a litany of injury issues. He had some minor ones during the season. He tweaked his back. I think missed a game or two during March Madness. Okay, that happens. But then he broke a bone in his foot, and
which is the major concern of NBA.
Big concern, possibly
general manager.
Absolutely, and probably dropped him from that first. Possibly could have dropped him from that first pick. So, that is a concern. I think Philadelphia thought high risk, high reward. And we discussed this yesterday. Philadelphia they are a franchise in doldrums, and they took a player last year who couldn't play, Nerlens Noel, or traded for him.
Well, right, they traded for a player that couldn't play.
Right.
And this organization seems to me to be the least able to take a risk.
Right, you would think so.
So I didn't quite understand this pick by them.
My thought was, and I'm just speculating, I thought maybe they swung for the fence. Let's face facts. Let's take the positive side. If this guy does not have an injury-riddled career, his potential is enormous when you have a guy who is that big and that tall and that fast and can shoot.
Yeah.
So huge upside. I'm thinking
huge upside.
Yeah. The mitigator for them was that they also had the 10th pick in the draft, which went towards a Louisiana product, Mr. Elfrid Payton.
Elfrid Payton, and which was the New Orleans Pelicans pick.
Right, all right.
They got in the Drew.
Right, the Drew Holiday trade. Right, exactly. So that was interesting. We'll move down a little bit. Aaron Gordon from Arizona, power forward, 6'9", was drafted by the Orlando Magic. Dante Exum, that was the Australian fellow who just blew onto the scene in the last month, went to the Utah Jazz.
His dad played on the 1982 North Carolina
That's
team.
right. It was Cecil or Sonny or something like that.
Don't know his first name,
Yeah,
but I do know he was a teammate of the great Michael Jordan.
He sure was. That's right. Now this is where the picks got kind of fun and sexy, if you will. Two sexy franchises made two sexy picks.
Right.
The Boston Celtics selected with the 6th pick in the 2014 NBA draft Marcus Smart, point guard, 6'3" out of Oklahoma State. Marcus Smart's a guy who, if he came out last year, would have gone number 1. I don't know who was giving him advice last year, but he went 6th overall, and Marcus Smart kind of implied he's going to show everybody they made a mistake by passing on him. That pretty much means that Rajon Rondo's got to is probably going to be packing his bags pretty soon.
I just don't know. I don't think that. I haven't seen Marcus Smart as a point guard. I've always seen him as a 2 guard. Mm-hmm. And, so maybe, of course, Rondo's gone from Boston.
Yeah.
They've been shopping him for a moment now.
Right.
So that's a foregone conclusion. However, I just don't. Every time I see Marcus Smart's name associated with the 2014 draft, I see him listed as a point. And I just don't know about that.
Well, they played they did not play the most pass-friendly, most traditional, in pro style, if you will. It almost sounds like we're talking about football, but pro style offense at Oklahoma State. I mean, the offense ran through, about, and around. Of course, they got Markel Brown, another Louisiana product who was also drafted.
Peabody High School.
Yep, got him involved a lot. But we'll see how that works out. I think I like what Brad Stevens is doing there. That's a sharp young dude. He's not afraid to take some risks. He has some time to develop that team, and I think they have a new focal point for their franchise. The next pick, an equally historic franchise, a rival franchise of the aforementioned Celtics. They'll be the Los Angeles Lakers with the 7th pick in the 2014 NBA draft. Julius Randle, 6'9", power forward from the University of Kentucky.
I just think this was a fantastic pick by the Los Angeles Lakers, and the people in Los Angeles have to be excited. You're going to lose Gasol, looks like,
probably,
in free agency. However, all you need is another big guy with Kobe out there, maybe a better point guard since Jason Kidd's on. I mean, not Jason Kidd. Nash. Steve Nash is on his last wheel.
He's on a flat wheel at that.
Right. So I doubt if they even re-sign Steve Nash. So I just like where that organization's headed with this draft pick.
Yeah, they got it's going to be very, very interesting. Julius Randle, when he was picked, he straight up said, I'm going to make people regret passing on me. And I'm thinking to myself, the Lakers just, it's like the sky parted for him. It just worked out for him just right. They had a horrendous season without Kobe Bryant. He injured his knee early, already coming off the Achilles tear from the year prior. So it looked like they were going in a bad direction, but they picked up a very, very, very talented player in Julius Randle. This is a guy, he could, like you said, he could do everything well. And he comes from that physical SEC play. He helped lead that team to being national runners-up, the Kentucky Wildcats, into the champ. A team that was not expected. They were an 8th seed. They were not expected to go that far. Right. And once they knocked out number 1 Wichita State, we know the story. So I like everything about this guy. Great length, great height, can shoot. I think probably needs to work on his defensive game a little bit, but he's got some skills.
Yes.
With the 8th pick, I talked about this guy a few times this year and always said I couldn't pronounce his name. Well, now I got it. Nick Stauskas from Michigan was the 8th pick. He went to Sacramento. This is a guy, they have him listed as a shooting guard, but I'll tell you, I thought he was a point guard when I watched him play last year because he handles the ball exceptionally well and he can nail some shots.
This is one guy that I just don't know a whole lot about.
Right.
Just didn't get a chance to see Michigan a whole lot last year, and not very familiar with
Nick Stauskas.
I wasn't even going to try that.
I hear that. This is a guy, just my observation of him, he always caught my eye, even though I couldn't pronounce his name. But a lot of offense, not a whole lot of defense. He's going to have to work on that. He might be a specialist there with the Kings. We're going to move down to some names that are of interest to folks here. With the 10th pick in the 2014 NBA draft, the Philadelphia 76ers selected Elfrid Payton, point guard from Louisiana Lafayette. He ultimately wound up in Orlando. He was traded to the Orlando Magic. I think that's going to work. Orlando's a team that's been in rebuilding mode for a couple of years now since Dwight Howard left. They were pretty much bankrupt at the point guard position, especially with Jameer Nelson's age and injuries. So I like the move there for Orlando. This is a guy who's got a lot of raw talent.
Hey, man, this was the Lefty Drizel Player of the Year. This guy out of John Ehret High School is just a defensive phenom. He makes an impact on both ends of the basketball court, which is rare in the NBA.
That's right.
Usually you find a guy making an impact on one end or the other. What I like about this move, Eric, he gets an opportunity. He doesn't have to come in and play right away. He can sit and learn from the wisdom of Jameer Nelson.
That's right.
And the other duel in that backcourt. We mentioned him
Victor
earlier.
Oladipo.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's a great combination when you put those two together, and they're both young in the NBA.
Right. They're going in the right direction. Orlando's a team. Look, throughout their history, really, they find ways to strengthen themselves in the draft. You looked at the beginning of this franchise when they finally got Shaquille O'Neal and then Penny Hardaway, and they were a team that was expected to be a possible dynasty in the Eastern Conference. That didn't come to fruition. Free agency ripped that up, but they made a step, and they made another run with Dwight Howard, made it to the finals again.
Right.
This is a team, this is a franchise with a history of building and making moves, and it looks like it's with a youth movement.
That's
and
right.
It looks like it's happening again.
And to you Raging Cajun fans out there, no one from your school has gone this high since Andrew Toney in the 1980s.
I remember that.
Long
time ago.
So, and no one from Louisiana, Eric, has gone this high since Greg Monroe in 2010.
Yeah, it's been a while. And Louisiana has a lot of talent, and it's good to see the boot state, making that made that impact in college. There's no getting around that. But in the pros now, and I'm gonna tell you something that is great exposure for Louisiana Lafayette. We've talked a couple of times on this show about how that school is quietly making some moves and getting some guys who might fly under the radar but have great physical attributes and can help contribute. We talked about Jonathan Stove.
Jonathan Stove is a phenomenal player. For those of you folks around the country, he's a little undersized, but he makes up for it in heart and desire and work ethic.
And can shoot. He's a good player. Christian Life Academy, we've brought him to you on LouisianaAllAmericanSports.com a couple of times this year. Scott Plaisance from Metairie Park Country Day in New Orleans. We've watched him play. 6'9", 200 pounds. This kid can play. He's at a smaller classification school. Probably didn't get the exposure, but
they won the state championship in Class A here in Louisiana.
That's right. And then they were runners-up this year.
No, they won it.
They won it this year. They were runners-up last
year before.
Right.
Yes.
So this is look, that's some good pedigree. Also, Bryce Washington, who we saw in the semifinals from St. Aug High School, 6'6", 230. Interestingly, he wore number 32, and St. Aug has purple and gold as their colors, and he even looked a little bit like Magic Johnson.
Like Magic.
So, he's only 3 inches shorter. So, let me tell you, ULL, keep an eye on them. Look at the baseball. They crept up with the big boys then. They made some good moves in football. They had a young man, his name is escaping, but he went pretty far high in the NFL draft from ULL. Can't think of his name off the top of my head.
Don't recall that. We'll have to research that.
But let me tell you, that school's making some moves there in Lafayette. So, great move there. Great for the state of Louisiana. Doug McDermott, the National Player of the Year from Creighton, was drafted by the Denver Nuggets with the 11th pick in the draft. 6'8", small forward. He was ultimately traded to the Chicago Bulls. I like that move because Tom Thibodeau's a guy who knows how to coach guys up, and also the Bulls are generally a defense kind of team, especially with the injuries to Derrick Rose the last couple of years. And this is a guy who is a shooter. This is an offensive player. Now, McDermott didn't look like a defensive threat in college. I don't think he's going to be one in the pros. But, Thibodeau needs a guy who can put some points on the board. I see his role being maybe that of a specialist or a sixth man, but I like that move to Chicago. I think it's going to work well for all parties involved.
Zach Randolph, former LSU player, was involved in that trade. He's going to the...
Anthony Randolph.
Anthony Randolph.
Yeah.
Wow, man, I'm messing up names all morning.
Zemo didn't get traded. No.
Anthony Randolph, former LSU player.
Yeah, and that's a guy who's also flown a lot under the radar in the pros, but he's a lengthy role player, and it's going to be interesting to see how those moves all pan out.
Yes.
Let's move down to some names that we know as we're moving down kind of out of the lottery part of the draft. Tyler Ennis from Syracuse made some dramatic shots during the regular season. Point guard from Syracuse. He was drafted by the Phoenix Suns. I like that selection of Tyler Ennis. I think he, along with Eric Bledsoe, I believe, wound up in Phoenix last year via some moves. That's going to be very interesting in the backcourt to see how they make how they balance that out there. Gary Harris, I think, might be the best value in the whole draft. Michigan State, 6'5" shooting guard. This guy, he was a senior. He played all 4 years there. This guy got better and better and better. And by last year, I really thought Tom Izzo and Michigan State might have gotten to the championship on the back of this young man. I really love that pick. He was traded to the Denver Nuggets. Great pick there. And Rodney Hood, Duke University, went to Utah.
Okay.
So they got Dante Exum and Rodney Hood, another youth movement there. With the 24th pick, this is another high-value pick. A lot of valuable players in this draft. With the 24th pick in the 2014 NBA draft, the Charlotte Hornets selected Shabazz Napier, point guard from Syracuse. And we talked about the rich getting richer with the Lakers and Celtics. And how about that? He ends up being traded to Miami, the 4-time Eastern Conference champions.
That's just a great situation for that young man.
Oh, it was perfect. We talked about it yesterday. He was like, it was the best day of my life. Because, Kemba Walker, who was also,
former UConn
player, was the most outstanding player of the 2004 NCAA tournament, as was Shabazz Napier, the most outstanding player of the 2014 tournament. So he gets selected. He's texting with Kemba Walker. They're excited. They're going to be teammates, and then he gets traded and he goes to play with the King. LeBron will probably play with the King. LeBron down to Miami.
He's going to play with LeBron.
Yeah, and LeBron said, that was my favorite player in the draft. So, man, that just worked out for all parties involved.
And Shabazz Napier, if you take care of your money, never again will you have to go to bed hungry.
That's right. If you all will recall, Shabazz Napier had made a remark after Connecticut won the national championship, and commented, "Hey, we sometimes have gone to bed hungry and stuff like that." They caught a lot of people's attention, made some waves, but he's never going to bed hungry again if he just takes care of his business. A couple of notable players in the second round that I'd be remiss if we didn't discuss a little bit. Clee Anthony Early, outstanding player from Wichita State, went very high, 4th pick of the second round, drafted by the New York Knicks. Johnny O'Brien III, Louisiana State University, went to the Milwaukee Bucks. That's a youth movement we're seeing there also.
It is.
And that's a guy who's long and strong and can score. There's a lot of potential in this draft. This was a very talent-rich draft. Go ahead.
Quick sidebar, man. I didn't realize it at the time, but draft night I was over at Madison Prep, and I saw the big guy.
Oh, Jarrell Martin's there?
Yes,
Right, man.
and I didn't think about it at the time, but a year from now, he'll probably be in this draft.
He sure will be, and if Milwaukee's terrible like they always are, they could be playing together, which could be some great chemistry for a young guy. Let me tell you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's interesting you said that. We're going to save that clip for this time a year from now. Glenn Robinson III from Michigan was picked with the 10th pick in the second round by the Minnesota Timberwolves. Markel Brown, who is a Louisiana product, was selected with the 14th pick in the second round by the Minnesota Timberwolves. Russ Smith from Louisville was selected with the 17th pick in the second round by the Philadelphia 76ers, and we'll just transition to, he was traded to our New Orleans Pelicans.
All right, good job, man.
It's fun, a couple of times I've slipped and said the old mascot, and during rehearsal I did it about 4 times yesterday. I'm not doing that today. Pierre the Pelican. Anyway, we got Russ Smith, and of course the Pelicans made a trade on draft day, and they acquired Omar Ashik from the Houston Rockets in exchange for their first pick in the 2015 NBA draft. I like the moves that the Pelicans made to, I think their roster improved with these selections. With Omar Ashik, Anthony Davis needs some defensive presence. He can't do it all on his own, and this guy is a rim protector or rebounder. He's just a beast. There's just no other way to put it.
I agree with that. As I did a little research on this trade and this situation, here's my concern about this. That the Pelicans don't seem to have any continuity in their strategy. When you bring in this guy, now you have to clear cap space.
Right.
And the victim of the cap space looks like it may be Drew Holiday. And you just traded for Drew Holiday, a first-round draft choice, and your draft choice last year. So then to give up next year's first-round draft choice for this guy seems like an awful lot, and I don't see the continuity in the strategy.
I didn't do my research as thoroughly as you did. I mean, I knew Ashik as a guy who I'd followed a little bit, and I got a friend who was on the air in Houston I listened to a lot, so I got a lot of Rockets reports more than other folks. I knew this guy's pedigree.
Yes.
This is what I'm thinking, and this is just Eric Hatfield spouting off the top of his head. I mean, Dell Demps is nobody's dummy, and he's made magical accounting tricks before, work before with the salary cap. I'm thinking to myself, he's got to find something to do. Holiday's got to be coming up on a contract either this year or next. I'm sure he's going to work some kind of magic beans. Holiday's going to be a max quality player, assuming that he stays healthy.
Okay.
I would assume if he puts up the numbers like he put up in Philadelphia. They had to free up Anthony Davis. You know what I'm saying? On the floor.
I understand that. You needed to get him some help.
Right.
I get that.
And they can't.
But could you have done that with the number 10 pick if you hadn't?
Right. If you hadn't made that trade, they cannot move Holiday. I don't know how it's going to work. Here
are the 3 names that are being thrown around. Either Holiday, which would be a horrible move.
I agree.
Eric Gordon, but who's going to take Eric Gordon?
That might be, but that's going to free up cap space. If his contract, it should be expiring next year.
But who's going to take Eric Gordon?
Somebody that wants an expiring contract. I'm thinking. You get the value in Eric Gordon is when he is healthy, he can put up points
How often is that?
19, 20. Right, I know. And the bigger value, much like with the Tracy McGrady trade a few years ago to the Knicks. I mean, you have that big expiring contract that can come off the books. Okay. So there's some value in that too.
The other name is Tyreek Evans.
That move wouldn't surprise me, That could be a good value move. Somebody's got to go. There's no getting around that.
One of those 3 are gone.
One of those got to go, and it cannot be Holiday. That would be a disappointment. Russ Smith, I like that move. This is a guy he's not gonna blow up your salary cap.
But which is more of the reason why one of those 3 are gone.
Right, because there's another guy in the backcourt.
Right.
Now Russ Smith is a guy I'd imagine is gonna be pretty deep on the bench in his rookie year. But it's a guy with long-term potential. You got him locked up 4 years. He's not going to blow up your cap. He was a low pick in the second round. This is a guy at Louisville. We talked about him yesterday when we were preparing for this show. This is a guy who turned the ball over a lot. Not the greatest shooter in the world. Could use a little work on defense. So you're thinking, well, why are you getting excited about this guy? First of all, he was coached by Rick Pitino, Hall of Fame coach. He has a championship. He knows how to win. They won a national championship. They went very deep in the tournament this year.
Yep.
Russ Smith is a guy, the upside on the court. This is a guy who has great ball handling skills.
Yes.
He is quick.
Yes.
I think he can learn a lot in New
Yes.
Orleans if he sits on the bench for a while. I think there's a lot of potential in this, and that's what you're getting in the second round. There's a lot of upside, not a lot of downside with that selection.
Look, he's going to turn the ball over a lot early on.
Right.
Most really good point guards do. We saw it with Jason Kidd. We saw it with Steve Nash.
That's right.
Until they got accustomed to the speed of the NBA game, they're going to make turnovers. So you just have to live with that. But this was an awesome pick or an awesome trade by the Pelicans to get this guy. He can potentially be an all-star player coming from that championship program in Louisville. So it remains to be seen how this develops, but I just like this pick or this trade.
Well, somebody, you know what I forgot to do, what I'm usually pretty good about doing every week, is telling you that the phone number is 225-343-9927, 225-343-9927. We have a caller actually calling in from the Big Easy, and that is Sean on the line. Hang on, we'll put Sean on in just a second while I get ready to roll here. And good morning. You are on the Louisiana All-American Sports. Go ahead, what you got?
Good morning.
Brandon.
Good morning, Sean.
Good morning.
Thank you for listening to Louisiana All-American Sports.
Yeah, I have a quick comment about, well, not a comment, actually a question, because I heard that when the Pelicans traded for Omer Asik, they still aren't really under the salary cap in order to take a salary, so they're going to have to trade somebody away. Who do you think the Pelicans are interested in trading away, whether it's Mr. Cool Rivers or they're really going to unload, just chill off on somebody?
Sean, you must have just flipped that radio on because I'll tell you what, go ahead, Perry, give it to him.
Yeah, well, we just talked about that. It's not going to be Rivers. That's not one of the names that I've come across in my research. It's going to be one of three players, either Drew Holiday, Tyreek Evans, or the third would be Eric Gordon.
Right. I think Eric Gordon's the one that's, much like Rajon Rondo in Boston, he's the one that's been dangled out there a lot, kind of the looser connection, maybe the weaker link, if you will. So I'm thinking that might be a strong possibility.
Tell me this, though, Sean. Out of those three names, which one do you think would be the best move for the Pelicans?
I think the best move would probably be just chill Eric Gordon, but with his knee injuries or foot problems, whatever he's been having.
Yes, sir.
I don't think he's going to be able to get moved. I'd hate to see Drew Holiday go because I know he's a walking triple-double.
Right.
When healthy. And Tyreek Evans is pretty much the same thing, but people aren't going to give you something for a busted product. So.
And that's our concern.
Right.
That's exactly what we just expressed, that who's going to take Eric Gordon. And Eric Hatfield just said that maybe someone who needs an expiring contract. There are all type of business decisions made in the NBA, and they're not all just basketball decisions. So maybe that would be the incentive to move him to a team.
Sean, you got anything else for us this morning?
No, just calling in to support my good friend Each. Sean, another shoe, baby.
All right, much appreciated,
right,
Sean. Thank you.
Keep listening, Sean. We appreciate you. Thank you, sir.
That was Sean. Sean, actually, it was funny. Sean is a college buddy of mine, and when he calls, it's Sean from New Orleans, and then I just kind of, okay, Sean, and then I heard his voice. I'm like, oh, that's Sean. Sean's also an aspiring coach. He's been doing a lot of volunteer work, a lot like we've been doing,
right,
on the amateur with the youth. So I mean, he's definitely an asset to Louisiana sports in general down there in the Big Easy.
At the high school level?
I know he's done some. He actually was an assistant on Saban, grad assistant on Saban's staff. I'm probably butchering the position. And I know he's done some junior high stuff. Not sure about high school, but he's done some stuff. Sean, thanks a lot for calling in. Much appreciated for calling Louisiana All-American Sports. Appreciate your continued listenership.
Hey, man, you got to really respect those people that volunteer their time free of charge to work with our youth. Keep doing what you're doing, Sean. We need more men like you.
Got that right. So let's see. We were talking Pelicans aspect. We talked about Russ Smith. Is that it for the draft? Because we still have some hardwood chatter. I think, is that it for the draft?
Yeah, I'm good on that.
All
We
right.
covered Markel Brown.
Yep, talked about him.
Yeah, so we
I
took
think
Johnny
we're through.
O'Brien. We did the Louisiana guys.
Just one last note: the Mr. Irrelevant of the 2014 draft was by the San Antonio Spurs, Corey Jefferson, power forward from Baylor University. We've mentioned his name at least 2 or 3 times in the past on this show. Big guy. I don't know if not going to score a lot of points, but he was a defender at Baylor. Really helped the Baylor Bears, get on the scene. They were ranked. They had some opportunities, but Greg Popovich has an eye for talent. Don't be surprised if Corey Jefferson magically transforms and starts shooting the lights out and bullying people at the post. He just has a way of finding these diamonds in the rough.
Yes. Great organization from top to bottom.
Got that right. In the National Basketball Association, let's talk the gossip and rumor mill. We're just going to be TMZ this morning for a hot second. First of all, Kobe Bryant sent out a very interesting tweet earlier this week where he said, others are, I'm paraphrasing, others are welcome to, quote, wear the golden armor. That is a not so subtle reference to say, come play with me if you're a free agent. I'm getting old and I want one more ring to match Michael. But, you got, Carmelo Anthony out there, LeBron James opted out. You're going to have a decision from Chris Bosh. I'm be shocked if Dwayne Wade went anywhere. But, there's some possibilities out there. Definitely some free agency possibilities.
I wouldn't be surprised to see Trevor Ariza go home.
That's a possibility, and that would be an addition in concert with the selection of Julius Randle. That's going to give some height and some length. I'm telling you, it's going to be interesting. Next year's going to be fun to watch, man, with all this new talent and these moves. So the golden armor. I don't know if LeBron James is going to be donning any golden armor, but I know Kobe Bryant wouldn't mind. LeBron James, of course, on Tuesday opted out of the final year of his contract. Of course, that's great for guys like us. Guys like us get a chance to talk and speculate and engage the audience. And rumors and talk radio just exploded with maybe he's going to Lakers, maybe he's going to Cleveland, maybe he's trying to get so and so to come. Silly mortals, as Barry would say. This is LeBron James is taking inventory of his options. He's doing what a responsible businessman would do and take inventory of his options. He's got to go back to Pat Riley. They've got to negotiate, and both men need to know the lay of the land. I just don't. He's got a good thing going there in Miami. He is the king of Miami. People come to him. He doesn't have to go to see you. Unless something completely falls apart with the Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh negotiations and blows up the cap and they can't make any moves, I don't see LeBron James going anywhere. I really don't.
I don't see LeBron James going anywhere either, although I don't see Bosh returning to that team for whatever reason.
I do think of all the dangling participles, that's the one. He is the person who is most likely to not be back. Yeah. He could be back, but he is definitely the one. He's still at the top of his game. He's young. He's the Ringo Starr of the Heatles right now. He might want to get paid and get his. They all took a little.
Max out.
Yeah, he can, because he took a discount to come there in the first place, and he's not. Unlike LeBron, who's building his brand for life and has long-term gains from from dropping $2, $3, $4 million a year on his contract, taking that discount. Chris Bosh is not going to be selling any Gatorade anytime soon, or very little Gatorade. He needs to max out his earnings, and he has a chance to be the man somewhere. So I do agree with you. I think that is the one I think is most likely to go. Dwayne Wade's going nowhere, folks.
No.
He's gonna, in fact, I'm going to tell you, he's going to be like, look, pay me my $40 million you owe me because I'm not getting it anywhere else. Dwayne Wade might opt out. No. I mean, he's crazy if he does, unless he already has another decent deal on the table. So, 225-343-9927, area code 225-343-9927, here on Louisiana All-American Sports to get in on the conversation. Hey, if you think LeBron's going to be donning the golden armor, I'd love to hear what you have to say. It's a fun time of year. It gives us a chance to speculate. The lay of the land is wide open. So, I think that's probably going to wind down our hardwood discussion.
Yes.
There's still other sports going on. The NBA definitely dominated, even though they didn't have any games going on.
I tell you what, the professor is probably moments away from calling. Let's give an Ed O'Bannon trial update.
Yes,
that ended yesterday.
Yeah,
and it is amazing to me the strategy that the NCAA chose to pursue in this case. They did not call not one player, not one coach to say, hey, look, we like the system as it is.
Well, let me tell you, so that's like trying to find one inmate that says, I like jail. Jail's good. I'm staying here. Because nobody likes it as it is. Shoot.
Well, but that's more the reason why this never should have come to trial, if that's the case, Eric.
I would like to know what law firm or firms are representing the NCAA, because they're going to be filing for unemployment insurance suit. I mean, they should like that snail in the Geico commercial. Slithers up, you're fired. Because they're taking the NCAA down the wrong road here, Perry. I'm not a legal expert, but it just seems like a slam dunk case to me.
Well, now it's in the hands of Judge Claudia Wilkins. She will make her decision sometime coming up within the next couple of weeks,
right,
of what we have here. And this may change the landscape of amateur sports in America.
Judge, was it Wilkins?
Wilkin.
Judge Wilkin already tipped her hat, or she's a judge, powder wigs, whatever they got. She already tipped her hand a little bit with some of the questions she had asked. A couple of weeks ago we talked about, she asked, well, why aren't you, if you want to have competitive balance, why aren't you spreading some of this, the revenue to these these smaller schools that don't have as much money? And they were like, so
but there were plenty of college coaches. Now, Judge Wilkin did say that anybody on video from 2005 to the current day is included in the class action lawsuit. So the NCAA could not call any of those people to testify. But anybody from 2000 to 2005 were fair game.
Right.
Somebody recently going through this system that has elevated their life, and due to their scholarship that they received from a major university.
Well, what that tells us, Perry, is that if they had that much trouble finding a willing witness, it tells me that even in spite of even in spite of benefiting, and obviously college athletes, their lives are benefited whether they go professionally or not. You get a lot of opportunity, but that means that probably a lot of these folks are thinking in the back of their head, this is we got exploited.
This is wrong.
Yeah, we got taken advantage of.
What about the coaches, though, Eric? Why not a coach?
I don't think the coaches like the system very much either, Perry. I mean, it tells you, because like you said, nobody stepped up. I mean, I'm sorry, I think you'd have to slide a briefcase with some Benjamins in it, maybe. I don't know, to get somebody to talk. The NCAA, they are really the light is being shown on them quite a bit.
Yes, it is, and it's just sad. And we've seen examples of extreme arrogance in the sports world these past, in a few stories that we've covered in the past couple of months. And this is one of the most extreme examples of arrogance.
Boy, oh boy, it's pride before the fall. And Dan Snyder in D.C., I hope you're listening.
I hope you're listening.
I guess
we're gonna have to move on.
All right. Ole, 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 ole. We have the World Cup going on right now in Brazil, and the United States of America is making some waves. They were in the bracket of death. You had Portugal, who was a perennial powerhouse. You had Ghana, who was a perennial thorn in the side of the United States the last two World Cups. You had Germany, which I think is a favorite. I don't know what the odds are. I'm sure the fixture is going to be calling soon, but I'll bet you their odds are pretty sweet. They've been good. I've actually watched the World Cup going back to 1990 when it was on Univision and not even on American television, just because it was different. And the Germans have always, even when they were West Germany, they've always dominated. So the United States escaped that bracket of death.
Yes. So, what's really interesting to me, man, this Belgium team, they've won 3 games in the World Cup, but they've only scored 4 goals in those 3 victories. So they are a defense-oriented team, and they don't score a lot of goals, which actually gives the United States an opportunity to win this game and move on, I think. But you've got to score a goal, which Belgium hasn't let a lot of people do.
They have not allowed a goal in open play throughout this entire World Cup tournament. The only goal was via a penalty kick. So they can teach you something about defense, and it's good to learn stuff, and it's good to be taught. And speaking of teachers, we have a regular on. We have Professor Terrell Johnson on the line. He's, of course, dropped some knowledge and wisdom on us several times today. Let's go ahead and get him bumped in.
All right, man. Professor Johnson, we've got some new theme music for you, man. We've got to fine-tune it, but we're going to play some Poor Righteous Teacher.
Black business. What? Black business. Black business. Black.
Love it is a love black thing. Correct stitch Beyonce come fi mash it up regularly.
and label that as your theme music. You okay with that?
Yes, sir, unequivocally. Good morning. I love the poor righteous teachers, wise and intelligent. That's one of my main guys.
Yes, sir. Awesome. Well, go ahead, man. Drop some knowledge on us this morning.
Indeed, family. Good morning, and as always, welcome and peace to my universal family. I wanted to share something a little different today, since the theme I've been noticing in the news and the media that our beloved Governor Bobby Jindal, along with the head of the State Department of Education, John White, have been arguing over Common Core. And as I sat back and reflected, I thought when the explorer Iberville came down the Mississippi River and he witnessed the bluff, and we all know the story of the red pole that he saw. But when he encountered these Indians there, the Indians that were there was the Bayou Gula Indians and the Houma Indians, and the red pole was a marking area to distinguish their hunting ground. But at any rate, let me tie all this in real quickly. The red pole that the Indians had there, they call this landmass Itihuma. Itihuma. But Iberville and the European explorers said Estroma. They thought they were saying Estroma. so you have the legacy of Estroma tied in with the mispronunciation of a word. At any rate, I wanted to just share this with you quickly. The first high school in Louisiana, in Baton Rouge per se, was Baton Rouge High, which was founded in 1890. Estroma came shortly after that, oddly, in 1917. That's where I situated with those Indian named streets and whatnot in that area that they called Dixie, but it was originally called Standard Heights. And I was just having this flavor in my mind about these schools and these school districts and what's going on with Common Core, and our governor, and he wants to trade it off, and John White wants to keep it. And I was just thinking about an educational theme, and I want to poke a little fun at a Struma today to just say that your name derived from a mispronunciation.
It's funny, a lot of stuff having to do with Native Americans comes from misunderstanding, like the fact that we even call them Indians.
Right.
Because, well, you know that story. I mean, anyone who passed social studies knows that, but there's some irony right there.
Right. Well, Doc, we sure appreciate you, man, and that's the knowledge for the day. Again, we love having you on this show. Sports is sometimes a distraction to keep us off of the real issues of life, and you bring some of the real issues of life to our format, and we appreciate you.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate the opportunity of you allowing me to disseminate this information. Anytime and anything you need, I'm here, buddy.
Yes, sir. Take care.
Have a great day, Professor.
Black business. What? Black business. Black business.
Love it is a love black thing. Correct stitch me as the coffee mash it up regularly.
That was Professor Terrell Johnson dropping a little knowledge on us about the Estruma Indians. So whenever you're out there, if you're in the sports world and you go to that oven of a press box and you see that big Native American on the side, understand that name came from a mistake, much like Indians itself.
That's right. Hey, man, coming up in about 28 minutes.
18 minutes.
18 minutes.
We have Noel Jackson with Music Satisfaction here on 96.9 FM WHYR-LP, Baton Rouge Community Radio.
And I'm sure Noel is going to have a tribute to the late, great Bobby Womack.
He
who
died?
just passed, yes. So
didn't know that.
Yeah, I know Noel will take care of all of that.
Wow. All right.
So let's move on, man. We got a little baseball. We're gonna have to run through that. Maybe we just go over the division leaders and not the statistical leaders.
Yeah, sure. We'll run through that. Run through that swiftly, as we have in Major League Baseball on the diamond. It's really starting to heat up a little bit. We have a couple of races that are really, really tight and going to turn to battles. We have a couple of races with some space. In the American League East, the Toronto Blue Jays continue to stay on top. They're not just a fluke. They're a game and a half ahead of the Baltimore Orioles and 2 games ahead of the New York Yankees. It's going down in the AL East. In the AL Central, the Detroit Tigers are just a strange team. They're back on top in the AL Central. They're far and away on paper have the most talent. They look like they got lulled to sleep a little bit up until last week. The Kansas City Royals had actually nipped them by a half game Friday before last. They're back on top, though. They had won 7 straight until losing last night, but they are 3.5 games ahead of the Kansas City Royals. In the American League West, the Oakland Athletics have been on top of that division all year long on the strength of pitching, but they're also scoring some runs when you got Josh Donaldson just bashing them in left and right, and you have a guy like Yoenis Cespedes in that lineup. They are 4.5 games ahead of the Los Angeles Angels. But the Angels, I'll give them their credit with the resurgence of Josh Hamilton and Albert Pujols kind of coming back to life. They're playing good ball, and right now, if the season ended today, the Angels would be hosting the wild card game.
Hey, man, I took a look at their lineup and their averages. Those guys, they've got a really strong lineup, Eric. And Pujols is probably the weakest bat in the lineup.
I mean, I left out the big fish, boom, boom, and Mike Trout. That kid is just, oh, God, I mean, just talent.
They've got about 5 guys hovering around 300.
That's crazy. In a major league lineup, that's unheard of, especially in the American.
Outside of Colorado, that's
right. Anywhere outside of the Rockies, right? So that's going to be an interesting race. The Angels, if you ever get to watch them on television, they are fun to watch, and they have got talent on that team. They can smack that ball around the park. Interestingly enough, though, not dead are the Seattle Mariners. They are 6.5 games back, but they're right there in the wild card race. They're about 6 games above 500. That pitching staff has always been good, but the bats with Robinson Cano in the lineup, they're starting to look alive a little bit. And Fernando Rodney's just a monster at the closer, so keep an eye on those guys. Moving over to the National League, this is like a prize fight. The Atlanta Braves and Washington Nationals are tied atop the National League East going to this morning. Both teams have 41-38 records. That's going right down to the last week of September. And the Miami Marlins just keep hanging around. They're only 2.5 games back. I don't think they're going to have the sprinters' ability to keep up with those guys, but it's impressive that the Marlins have just been in the hunt all season long. The NL Central, the Milwaukee Brewers continue to impress. I thought they might have been a fluke coming out of the gate. If you follow baseball, you know their pitchers are very good, and then you got K-Rod, who makes a 9-inning game into an 8-inning game for the Brewers. I did not expect their bats to do what they've been doing, and that's exactly what they've done. They've got also a couple of guys. Go ahead,
Darren. Right, their bats look a lot like the California Angels.
Right. They got a couple of guys, at the top. We're not going to go over statistical leaders, but at the top of the American League, you have Jonathan Lucroy, who's batting .330. He came from out of nowhere. You have, of course, Carlos Gomez. You have Ricky Weeks, who, is a known all-star, came off of a devastating knee injury. You have to wonder where to put that guy in the lineup. And, of course, nobody wants to hear it, but Ryan Braun is still in that lineup, and he can hit the ball.
And he got hit again last night.
That's good for him.
And K-Rod actually blew a save last night.
No way.
But Ryan Braun came back and took his back and hit a walk-off home run.
You see? That we talked about this before. Y'all better stop hitting Lion. Shoot, Lion's going to make you pay. That's baseball karma. They got to stop. Well, I tell you, Steely's got to do something about that. It's getting out of hand. But with hitting that man. St. Louis Cardinals, 5.5 back of the Brewers. So we got a 2-team race in the National League West by 2 bitter rivals going back to the beginning of the 20th century from across the country. The Giants and Dodgers. The San Francisco Giants had led all season. They're now 2 games ahead of the Dodgers. They're going to be slugging it out.
The Dodgers, man, I like that squad. They're currently playing the Cardinals. They're chasing the Giants. We've got Lincecum's
Tim Lincecum, yeah.
Tim
Lincecum, there we go.
Lincecum, his
tongue twister.
No-hitter that we've got to cover, and I guess we'll do that just shortly. I need you to help me find that right there. And, yeah, there we go. So that we've got a caller on the air, and this is a regular to the show. His name is The Fixer.
I'm going down, baby. Your street in the rain. Come on. Ready to let it go.
All right, G, how you doing today, my man?
Hey, good morning, fellas. How's it going out there in old Baton Rouge?
Super fantastic, brother. Super fantastic. I hear you've got some new odds for us, man. And we kind of ragged on the USA soccer team kind of hard a couple of weeks ago, man. But hey, a lot of teams have gone home and they're still there.
Yeah, that 250 to 1 bet at the beginning of the World Cup don't sound bad, does it?
Man.
It's all about the Washingtons.
So,
Hey, well, I got the new updated odds here. You know, I'll give you the pretty much the cream of the top because, you know, everybody else is way down there. We got Brazil 11-4, Germany 7-2, Argentina 4-1, Netherlands 6-1, France 8-1, Belgium 20-1, Colombia 20-1, Mexico 25-1, Chile 30-1. And then we got the U.S. come in at 50-1,
wow.
And then the bottom of the list is Algeria and Nigeria at 200-1.
wow. Okay, so Belgium, the USA opponent, 20-1.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
Yeah, that means USA's got a fight on their hands on Tuesday.
Tell me this: I did not hear my pick. I had chosen Uruguay to win this thing. Do you have the odds for them? Now, since their star striker,
Yeah, Luis Suarez is out to lunch.
If I'm correct, I was looking at them somewhere in the neighborhood of about 100 to 100-1 or something like that.
Wow.
You know, because they lost their star.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so they way down there.
Yeah, it's like when the Patriots lost Tom Brady a few years ago. It's just not going to happen.
It's not going to happen now. Okay, what else do you have for us, G?
Oh yeah. Hey, at the end of this, I'm gonna tell y'all where LeBron is going, and y'all will know in a minute because Vegas knows. You know.
Okay. Wait a minute. There are odds on where LeBron is going to play basketball next year. Is that what you're telling us?
Kinda.
Okay. Okay.
Let me get to my baseball odds, and then we'll get to the NBA at the end. Here.
Sounds good.
Okay. At the top of the list, we got the A's 6-1, Detroit Tigers 13-2, San Francisco 13-2, Dodgers 15-2, my Cardinals 10-1, LA Angels of Anaheim 12-1, and Milwaukee 12-1. Toronto 12-1, Atlanta 18-1, and there's a host of people down there at 500-1.
Are the Astros still in the toilet? Or they must have come up a little bit.
Who was that?
The Houston Astros. They can't possibly be in the toilet. It's got to be the toilet like they were at the start of the year. It's got to be the Diamondbacks or the Cubs now, I'd imagine, huh?
Remember I told you the host of people that was 500-1? That's where the Astros are at.
Okay. And these are the odds to win the World Series?
Those are odds to win the World Series.
Okay, sounds good. All right, what else do you have for us?
All right. Now, you want to know where LeBron is going? Here's your answer. Vegas does have the odds out for the 2015 to win the NBA championship. At the top of the list, the Miami Heat, 3-1.
Well, I was like, all right, come on. I'm like, he's going to drop a bomb on there. He said, I know where LeBron's going. I'm like, well, it's 1 o'clock. He's probably going to lunch. Probably going to his kitchen.
So you tell me where LeBron is.
Oh, no, I 100% agree with you, Mr. Fixer. I think that's exactly where he's going. He's staying right where he is.
However, though, let's full disclosure, those odds will change as NBA rosters change.
No, the odds will change as NBA rosters change, but that's where Vegas is putting their money. That LeBron is going nowhere.
Okay.
The odds is just to opt up in income.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, but after that, you got pretty much nothing changed from last year to this year. OKC 6-1, Spurs 6-1, Clippers 9-1, Chicago Bulls 12-1, Pacers 12-1, and the Rockets 16-1. Those are pretty much the relevant teams. Everybody else is super major double digits and not in the picture as of the moment.
Heard that.
Sounds good, man. Hey, the clock on the wall tells us that we have to run, man. But you know the routine, man. Stay off the grid.
Stay out of jail.
We'll holler. Peace.
That was the Fixer.
I'm going down, baby. Yo, street in the rain. Come on. Boom, boom, baby. Ready to let it go.
that was The Fixer.
Eric, I find it amazing that the Milwaukee Brewers, 5.5 games up on the St. Louis Cardinals, are still 12-1 odds when the Cardinals are 10-1 odds.
But that tells you what, Vegas, much like the stock market, doesn't lie. It tells you what people think, and people still have a lot of confidence in the, Major League Baseball's regular season is a marathon. It is not, there's nothing even resembling a sprint until September. And what that tells me is that the Cardinals are best set up for the marathon.
Right. Well, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. So we're going to get into some more baseball stats in just a few minutes. We've got a caller on the line, and we're going to see what they want to talk about first. This is your show. And you can get in on the action at area code 225-343-9927. Again, that number's 225-343-9927. And who do we have on the line, Eric?
We got a lady on the line who wanted to make a quick comment. Fire away, you're on Louisiana All-American Sports.
Hello, Louisiana All-American Sports, and I just wanted to make a small comment and acknowledge Isaiah Austin. I don't know if I missed a part of the show if you all had mentioned him today. For remaining so positive and give him an applause for speaking out and being so positive in regards to his situation for the Marfan syndrome. He can't play his career with the NBA, but he is speaking out to people about his syndrome and trying to just remain a very positive influence in moving forward with his life, even though it wasn't good news for his career.
Well, caller, first of all, we'd like to thank you for listening and calling into our show. We quite often say that there's too much testosterone on sports radio talk shows, and for you to provide some estrogen to our show, we greatly appreciate that. Eric, do you want to touch this?
Yeah, absolutely. The story that we're talking about, you had a young fella, Isaiah Austin. He was expected to be drafted, and about a week before the draft, he learned that he had a condition. I can't even pronounce it, I
think our caller may be able to pronounce it if she's still there.
It's Marfan syndrome, where he has an enlarged valve to his heart.
Right, and correct, and it could be potentially fatal. So he was unable to play. He could not be cleared to play in the NBA. I can't imagine the devastation that anybody who's worked your whole life to get to that point must feel. Well, he's spoken out, and I tell you what, Adam Silver continues to pile up the feel good.
You got to give it to Adam Silver.
Yeah,
here. This was a good touch.
Oh yeah, he goes in the middle. He stops in the middle of the draft. He talks about young Mr. Austin. And he says, "Well, tonight with the next pick in the draft, the NBA selects Isaiah Austin." Big ovation. It was really a feel good moment. Adam Silver gets it.
Yeah, well,
he gets it.
He did that right, and the NBA has offered the young man a job.
Oh, right, really?
As well as Baylor University.
I heard about that.
Has offered him a job on their coaching staff. So, it just hey, I'm glad that we've got callers that are
in tune enough and conscientious enough to bring that to our show, because we almost omitted that.
Yeah, and that definitely caught my attention. I think that was great. Adam Silver knows how to play that PR game unlike his predecessor.
Yeah, we thank you, caller, for listening. Thank you for bringing that to our show. Mm-hmm. Hey, man, we got a few minutes left before we get out of here.
Yeah, let's talk about. So there was one noteworthy thing that happened.
We got to talk about the no-hitter.
Yeah, man, Tim Lincecum. He's an interesting story. This is a guy who just started his career like gangbusters. Two-time Cy Young Award winner. Early in his career, looked absolutely bulletproof. Started to slide a little bit in 2011, and in 2012, even though the Giants won the World Series, he was up and down. His ERA skyrocketed. You never knew which freak, the freak is his nickname, you never knew which freak you were going to get. Then last year, when he was almost on his way out of Frisco, he started to pick it up. Then he had the no-hitter last July against the San Diego Padres. Well, earlier this week on Wednesday, Tim Lincecum threw his second no-hitter against the San Diego Padres. 28 up, 27 down. He allowed one runner on base, I believe, via a walk. The freak is back. The freak is back. And I'll tell you, the Giants, and when the Giants are pitching well, they are a team that's capable of winning the World Series, as they've done 2 times in the previous since 2010. So congratulations to the Freak. That's good for Major League Baseball. It's always good to have a story like that. You had Clayton Kershaw last week, who had an almost perfect game, 28 up, 27 down, save for an error. So the pitchers are back in Major League Baseball.
Hey, man, I'm looking forward to a fantastic playoff on both sides of Major League Baseball, the American League and the National League. We should have some great series come October.
Right, because you have no one team running away with it this year. You have a lot of ballers. We were talking about the Brewers earlier, and the Cardinals. They're ready for that marathon. It's going to be good, folks. If you like baseball,
the Dodgers, the Giants.
Yep, the Nationals and Braves are going to slug it out. I mean, the A's and Angels.
I don't think the Pirates are done.
No, I don't think they're done either. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint, and it's not even the 4th of July yet. So, looks like we are coming to the end of our voyage, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, as we always say around this time.
ADT, JNS, love you.
Have a good afternoon.